pentology, helpology. The helpers and the helpology helpers and everything that we received so far in regards to the technique and all the learning experience that we had. This is a very important moment for us. The 21st Forum, in partnership with CEAEC, we are very grateful for this partnership. We hope that everybody enjoy this. And for those that haven't arrived yet, so we hope you'll come and share your thoughts and participate as well. Good evening, everybody. I also want to welcome everybody to the 21st Forum, a Penta Forum. Since I've participated more than half of those, it's very important for those who can attend, not only as an attendant, but also writing as well. We received lots of work that's being submitted for those 2 days. There's going to be a lot of information. Some maybe new. And Fausto also mentioned the 30 years of the Penta Practitioner Manual. I arrived in that conscienciology at 30 years. There was only the manual available. Now we have a lot of material available to study and to qualify ourselves. We have 3 magazines published already, and it's going to be the 3rd one next year. And then the instructor Pilar will bring this up later. We're 10 years from Xxi Penta. It's been a journey for us in terms of having this information about the Penta science. And everybody that to take advantage of those 2 days, and this especially regarding to this matter dosing, the pentological helpology. And we have every day the contact with our helpers. Yeah, so take advantage of this. For those that are online as well, we can still attend to participate. You can still sign up. I like to always say this, in local, it is much better, but online it is also good. The face-to-face is very important, and it's priceless for that. Very thank you for the all the partnerships that we have, and thank you everybody for being here, and the helpers, especially the helpers. I'm very satisfied to be here. It's very special to me. I hope all of you take this opportunity to learn. And I would like to thank the Unison and the volunteers that and all the crew involved to help us to help to put this together. Yeah, so I participated in the being taking the lead on this forum and put this together.
Gente, realmente é uma satisfação, uma alegria grande.
It's very satisfying to be here, to be part of this event. It's lots of people working together to get this done. So the instructors, are available. CEAEC, we're doing this scientific forum again, focus on the Penta. It's also enhanced by all the research doing it. But this is the opportunity to meet for the Penta practitioners to meet. And for us to take advantage of this opportunity to share the experiences for those that practice the Penta. We're always still learning. And none of us can say that everything is under control. We're still in the learning process. Hello? Hello?
se encontrar ou falar de TENEPS, mas eu vejo que qualificar a nossa relação com o amparo extrafísico de função e que vai vir a qualificar todo o trabalho da TENEPS. Então, tal qual uma qualificação docente, em que os docentes se qualificam, né? Aqui os tenepsistas se qualificam, e eu entendo que os amparadores de TENEPS, com esse tema, esse mater pensene que a gente trouxe, especialmente para trabalhar essa relação tão importante na TENEPS, eles estão aí com a gente, ajudando, presente, e muito interessados no como que a gente pode fazer para melhorar os nossos assistências tenepsísticas. Então, aproveitem essa oportunidade, assim eu vejo.
That's how I see it. It's a very important event, and the background and behind the scenes, it's much bigger than we can think of.
Mas assim, quem tiver aí para aproveitar, certeza que vai extrair muito.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody here will take advantage of this opportunity. The articles are fascinating.
Espaço para fazer pergunta, para de fato questionar, porque isso também ajuda o pesquisador a qualificar.
Yeah, that helps the people that are getting ready to study this, and the researchers is an opportunity to, you know, to the integration to speak one another. I invite everyone to participate, and all the team is here, and welcome again.
Bom, e com essas palavras declaramos aberto.
So we now say we declare it open, the 21st Forum and the 18th International meeting.
We declare open the 51st Forum and the 80th International Meeting of Penta Practitioners. Nós agradecemos a presença
We
dos
thank the coordinators for their presence, and we invite them to take seats in the auditorium to attend the opening lecture of the event.
Bem, teremos agora a conferência com a temática.
We will now have the lecture with the theme Extraphysical Penta Supporter. To present, we invite instructor Epicon Gisele Salles.
A Gisele Salles, ela nasceu
Gisele Salles was born in Campo Grande, in Brazil. She is a psychologist in a specialization hospital psychology. She acts as conscin since 1994. Penta practitioner since 1994 and Epicon since 2019. We thank her and we wish you good luck. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm extremely happy to be here. I'm very grateful for this invitation to be here, to be celebrating this opportunity. It's an achievement to start a forum, but the forum itself, it's easy, but the continuity of this process, it is really hard. So I participate in various teams to make this happen. And to me, to speak about this subject, it's very important. I study Penta and Pentology. I write about it. I'm writing right now about it regarding the helpers that participate in the Penta and the developer parapsychics. The Penta, it is really what brought the sustainability of all the work that I do, that I put it together, and the assistance that I provide. It's been always a challenge to connect and work with the Penta helpers and to understand their work, because it's bringing me together, so bringing me to their holotosing. And depends on is related to the assistance that I provide. I'm very curious about this. I like to understand this, to interact with the Penta helpers. It's a challenge to me as well, to develop my own parapsychism, to even access them even more. and to work together with them more and more. The Penta, it's a foundation. It's the foundation of all the work that I do. This is the most important work that I do recently. So welcome to everybody that is online as well. We're going to start with the definition. Penta, a personal energetic task, is the transmission of consciential energy, individual and assistential act is scheduled at a fixed daily time carried out by the human consciousness, assisted by an extraphysical helper or helpers, while in the human consciousness, assisted by ordinary physical awakening state, director is needy or ill consciousness, intangible and invisible to ordinary human sight, or towards projected or non-projected conscience, whether near or at a distance, or likely ill. It doesn't Penta only happen with the helpers as well. They work together with us in the assistance process. When I found conscienciology, it's been more than 30 years. I remember I was very impacted by this concept of the Penta concept. I had that idea since I was a teenager. But how is it possible to donate energy to extra physical entities or consciences? Is it possible to do that? Do I have, what it takes to do it? There has to be something in place to do it in a lucid way. I felt an internal motivation to do it. So when I found this theme, the Penta theme, I really found that that was actually I had to do. Since the first course I did, I started preparing myself to start it. When I got the manual, the Penta manual, it was like the epicenter for me because everything was written there, the step by step. For you put together a schedule for when you can start. After 30 years doing the Penta, I still studying the manual. Every time I'm still doing it, there is something that I haven't thought about it yet. It's like every time in my mind that each of those themes are so differentiated. Why does this happen? Why do I need to repeat this definition? And every time I do it, I understand it in another level, in a deeper level. This what it means inside the work that I do in my praxeological work. So as we get more experience, so the answers slowly come, and also come more and more questions. And that's really the good part of it. It is to also to interact more with the helpers, to interact more with them. Another definition from Valdo Vieira. The extraphysical helper is the beneficent assistant who helps the human conscience or, or severe human consciousness simultaneously when evolutionarily attuned, notably to an extraphysical projections, extending their beneficial influence throughout the intraphysical life of the personality and even during the ordinary. So when we accept that we went through the intermissive, because we understand our trajectory up to this point, then we can start to understand through the results of what we've been doing, the manifestations or the optimizations that help in doing this journey. They were supported by the helpers. But how do we see this? Is there another way to look at it? For me, that 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 is a point of more information to do my research. Through the Penta, I can improve my parapsychism. Every day, we open our doors to the parapsychism. This is a commitment that we have, but also this is an opportunity to learn. To me, there are a lot of articles or verbiage or entries in the encyclopedia that talk about this specialty and vexology and penta as well. And why is that? Because all the work that we do, especially the sustainability of the work we're doing, you can't disconnect the penta work with everything else. All the demands or the requests we have, they are actually taken care during the penta. For those who want to start this, you need to take this responsibility on their hands.
Vocês podem me parar a hora que vocês quiserem, tá, gente? Para fazer algum comentário, para fazer alguma pergunta, fiquem bem à vontade.
You can stop me whenever you feel so.
Vamos lá. Então, quem
So let's go. Let's keep up moving. Who is the Extraphysical Penta Helper? The Extraphysical Penta Helper is the cosmoetical intraphysical conscin, shoulder by shoulder with intermissed conscin in everyday fraternal energetical transmission in order to help every day the intraphysical and extraphysical consciousness that are in need of affection and assistance. Yes, it is a subject that I worked a lot. That's why I proposed that. What could we see? What is the difference between the Extraphysical Penta Helper if we compare with blind guides? The principal condition is the lucidity, the extraphysical lucidity. I don't know if you remember the last definition, because we mentioned the evolution level. So who are the helpers, extraphysical consciousness? So they are those who are interconnected with the fact that they are manifesting in the extraphysical dimension. So they have a much better conjunction view comparing with ourselves here in the intraphysical conditions. So how we can qualify this cosmo view, even being restricted in the intraphysical dimension? It's due to the parapsychism. If we invest in the parapsychism, we diminish the reciprocal difficulties, which are in the same way we have the difficulty to interconnect with the helpers in our day-by-day regular basis. The helpers, they have the same difficulties that we have to interconnect with us. So I think this is a daily challenge. And the more we advanced in the Penta work, we will end up in a condition of a level of veteranism, maturity, and we qualified the interconnection with the helpers. I know that most of you are prioritizing the subject related with Penta, otherwise you guys would not be here. And what I see is this possibility of every day being in contact with the helpers. So there is no bigger interaction than this one. Nevertheless, not all the time we are lucid, but this level of interconnection that we established since the first moment helped and establish a solid basis for the security and the parasecurity of the Penta. So the helpers, when they are working with us, they are working with a clarification task, but because the need of the consciousness, they are not only one specific item. I recall Instructor Vieira talking in the beginning of in the inauguration of the Tertulliarium. I remember he highlighted the condition of the clarification task. Why? Because it's whenever we clarify the consciousness, that is exactly that help the consciousness to advance in their evolutionary process. So in the big majority of the time, what do? We do the beginning part, the initial part. This is fundamental, embracing and using fraternal energy. So day by day, we do this energetical embracing together with the helpers. In the big majority of the time, are the helpers that are going to guide and follow the consciousness. So what happens when we advance in our work? Little by little, we start to be together with the helpers, shoulder by shoulder, and we are participating in some level of orientation, some level of guidance. So sometimes it's necessary that with our acting, due to the interconnection, to the rapport with the consciousness that is there, that will help this connection, that will help the rapport. And other times, when we are lucid and projected out of the body, there are a possibility for us to follow together with the helpers. With almost 30 years of Penta, I had this big possibility of acting together, shoulder by shoulder, with the helpers. What I used to see, I used to register that as self-research ideas, is why in that moment my helper during Penta had invested so much for me to become lucid. I recall a few continuous consciousness projection. Most of the times when this happened, I am a projector. I used to pop out of the body since 4 or 5 years old. So what the helpers they used to do, they profit from the parapsychic strong trait in order for us to help and contribute more in that level of assistance. Instructor Vieira has a verb that I like it a lot, which is the realist assistance, which is for us to embrace the real need of the people who we are helping. So when we are lucid, the intention is giving the best of the best towards that consciousness that being assisted. And if we have a bigger level of rapport, that will open and amplify and give a predisposition for he or she to be assisted. And this lucid projection will be happening for us to be part of that. So then, Lucimara defended one verbete in 2023, which is Pentology helpers. The helpers, they help a few times and they help to establish a few conditions. So the real need of the people who assist will be attended. So if we are lucid for that, we will all the time be registering these possibilities. Most of the times, because that will help us a lot. And will help us to understand where are we, in which part, which threshold of lucidity we are during the Penta, and especially during this correlationship among the helpers. So let's go. The
o suporte ou a sustentação recebidos pelo aplicante da técnica da TENEPS,
the helper in the helper of the Penta, the person who practices Penta, is is the possibility to favor the security and the parasecurity. Why I brought this definition? For her to point the parasecurity of the work. So the helpers are those who are taking care of the parasecurity of what happens. So whenever we are practicing Penta, we suppose we are under parasecurity, but there is a detail we ought to observe. We are responsible for the security of the work. So if we take care of the security, the parasecurity will be taken care as well. So what is the environment in which you do Penta? Is the time okay? How are we when we are going to practice Penta? Instructor Vieira has another verbet, which is the anti-cosmoethical attitude, which is the intraphysical consciousness that goes in favor in order to help others, especially those, especially the person itself who is or are interested. So there is no point on considering the Penta without considering a minimal level of organization. So here I brought the topics. Could we think about starting Penta and advancing in Penta work without organization? I think this is not possible. So how we establish Penta as a priority if I don't establish and create a security base in everything that is necessary? It's the same thing as thinking, I am going to work in a hospital. So people who are in need, they are going to arrive. And then when the disease consciousness arrives, we have no doctor, no nurse. How this consciousness will be taken care. So we have to think about this as well. Whenever the helpers they bring for us, we ought to be prepared for that assistance, not only from the intraphysical point of view, but with our energies. Either with our energies and with our parapsychism, in order for us to work shoulder by shoulder with the Penta practitioner. So there are no way for us to not to consider the self-organization. You select those hours among the 3 hours period, and you create this commitment. And this commitment you have during your entire life. And that will make us to understand. Another question that he brings is the bringing a great level of cosmoethical coherence in all of the actions. This is fundamental because it is our level, the level of the cosmoethical threshold that we have will define how we can assist and the way we can assist. Let's say someone is practicing Penta for more than 10 years, and eventually this person picks himself or herself thinking or talking bad about the person or with some level of conflictivity, even in her or his family. And then we ask, how this person, we can ask, how this person is getting ready for Penta, for her or his daily Penta, if he or she are in different tasks and if they get involved with conflicts that has no consistency with the work of Penta. So how the helpers they are going to act? Of course, the helpers they are going to act all the time from a cosmoethical point of view. So what we need to do is aim for a more cosmoethical conduct, more and more every day, because that will make us to come closer to the helpers. Another condition is the vibrational state condition. Have you guys observed that in all the encyclopedia's entries, in the big majority, we usually in the big majority of the verbatim, we have the prophylactic vibrational state. Whenever we are going to review the verbatim, we recall if people are not talking about the vibrational state, because that helps us a lot. So how people are going to do Penta if she or he, if they are intruded, if she is not able to help herself. So it is important for us to observe how it is, the vibrational state. Is this a habit for me today, or I still need to get organized to do a vibrational state? Because practice vibrational state, it's like breathing. We ought to be all the time thinking about our homeostasis. And the vibrational state is what helps us in our holosomatic homeostasis. Another condition is the signals, the parapsychic signals that he brings about amplifying the parapsychic signals. No, expanding one's personal, energetic, and parapsychic signaletics. We talked a lot about this, because this is a way for us to communicate and to get ready to interact with multidimensionality. And every time we advance in our work, more and more we amplify our perception. We have Sandra today here with her book that we indicated a lot, because it's very important. It's important to map your energetical signal. You cannot interact with multidimensionality without mapping your signals. So, for example, if we are going to consider the question of practicing Penta 24 hours, instructor Pilar is here. So if I consider I advanced in my Penta work, I ought to observe what had I advanced in my interassistential parapsychism. What is the level of the consciousness that are assisted? Are you able to perceive the amount of assistance that arrive? Are you in a condition of being veteran in terms of practicing Penta? Why is this important? Because many times, most of the times, the consciousness that are being brought to our psychosphere is exactly in that moment in which we are going to map the signals we perceived. For me, that was all the time a challenge. Why? Because I was all the time interested on qualifying my parapsychism. And I was thinking all the time, what is a priority? And then I remember myself thinking how I interact with the helpers. What are the signals that are part of the interassistential signals? And then a few years ago, I was in a condition of 24 hours Penta. because I started to decode the demands that I will be receiving in every moment. But therefore, I sweat a lot, lots of efforts, because whenever I perceived a few specific signals, I would be thinking, but what's the meaning of that? And then sometimes I will be entering in a pattern of Yosemite. And then I started to map and register. And then now I know that these signals are related with helpers arriving. The other signals are correlated with the pattern of disease of people who are being assisted. And then I started to identify what were the patterns that they would be they would be repeating like a pattern all the time. That helped me a lot because made myself understand that those signals, they could be translated as a language for us, or to help me to diminish those reciprocal difficulties I mentioned related with the interconnection with the helpers. No, and then I recall it was important to understand that sometimes the helpers, they are doing a huge effort. The extraphysical helper was doing a huge effort to bring extraphysical consciousness for me to assist, and I was not able to perceive that he or she, they had arrived in my psychosphere. So this challenge for me represented lots of effort about registering and studying, made myself to amplify the comprehension of the interconnection with the helpers. And that helped me a lot to distinguish when a specific help will be arriving. For example, inside the encyclopedia review. So sometimes I saw myself, I would be seeing myself reviewing the verbiage, and I would be perceiving a specific pattern of energy arriving. That helped me a lot. But not only signals, no, we cannot have all the answers through the signals. It's important for us to develop our parapsychism. Sometimes a lucid projection is more important than signals that you are receiving. Sometimes you can see yourself having gaps. If you only trust on signals. Nevertheless, if you have a lucid out of the body projection, you will have some answers. So this is the main idea of the mini tool. I had the opportunity of seeing myself acting in a few works that they were possible due to a bigger facility I had related to the lucid out of the body projection. Because I needed to understand and see the dimension of the work. I see it's not only thinking about self-ophiesis without a lucid projection. Now, the last item, Instructor Vieira talked about assisting. This item is very important. So, if we assist, we are still waiting an answer back things like, well, I did a super duper assistance and I did not receive any thank you or any congratulation. We heard that a lot in the Penta dynamic. So we don't need to exchange. When we assist in the Penta, we don't have the dimension of all the consciousness that being assisted.
Às vezes a gente vê 1% do que está acontecendo lá na TENEPS. Mas não importa. Somos nós e os amparadores. A gente não vai prestar conta para ninguém.
So it doesn't matter.
Anônimo, onde nós vamos ver o que está
So
acontecendo.
we are not going to give. We are not going to have to establish the calculation, or we are not going to show a spreadsheet to others. Just by the fact of being with the helpers and exteriorizing energy with for us to feel the gratitude due to the work. So now we are going to talk about the anti-helpers behaviors. No? So procrastination of intraphysical recyclage. So there is no point for us on thinking that the helpers are going to bring us demands correlated with assistance that are more complex if we are stagnated or blocked, because the helpers, they cannot do for us. We have this free will. So have practicing the recin. No. Another condition is the selective assistance. So another condition that it's important.
Mas na TENEPS não. Quem faz a agenda é o amparador. Então não adianta eu chegar para a TENEPS e falar assim, não, hoje eu só vou assistir o meu grupo karma familiar. Não.
It's important for me to say or to think like I should not go to the Penta and I should not think like this. Today, I just want to help my family, not anybody else. So we should not do that.
Exteriorizar as nossas melhores energias, encaminhar as nossas melhores energias para essas consciências que nós queremos assistir. Se for prioridade.
So the best is let's exteriorize energies for the consciousness.
No momento da TENEPS, já foram assistidas com as nossas energias. Então não dá para selecionar os assistidos no momento da TENEPS.
We can choose the assistant. So the anti-cosmetical attitudes that we have spoken about. Yeah. So the helpers does not turn a blind eye to self-corruption. Yeah, Instructor Valdo left it very clear. So the self-intrusion or the self-corruption, the helpers leave, you know, why? But so the self-corruption, the person is not really interested in evolve. So maybe there is like waiting to get something in return of what is doing. If the Penta practitioner is not considering the other one, there is even another entry. If the practitioner is still expecting something in return, yes, so the person is being in a self-corruption state. It has to have an assistant, a fraternity approach. Or consins, either consins or consciex, known or unknown. But so the assistants, the consciousness assistant, they are part of our group of karma. Even then we may not have met them recently, there is always a relationship with them. So there is this, so the assistants are are chosen by the helpers, there is a purpose for that. And then it's based on the competence of the penta practitioner as well. They won't bring a consciousness that if you are not competent to assist that consciousness. They know how to do that, to bring that, to match the penta practitioner with the consciousness. As we are evolving in our work, the helpers will open up or bring more complex situations to be treated because we are getting better, we're being more competent, and even parapsychism related, we are getting better as well. And the self-intrusion, it is also a problem. The self-intrusion, it creates a block the relationship between the helper and the assistant, the penta practitioner. The helper is trying to give a hint, but if there is a self-intrusion process, we will not be able to listen to the signals from the helper. What is the investment I need to do? That is something that I have to do. So the self-availability from our perspective, the lucidity availability. So I gave a title for the entry, and I was in the field that in the Congress of intermissivists, and the helper came to me and think about this and told me, think about it. You're talking about self-availability, assistential self-availability, but if you're not lucid, it doesn't even matter. I haven't thought about this. So can I change the title of my entry? Because you not only need to be available, but you need to be lucid as well when we make ourselves available to work with the helpers. And the attention to the insights, the orientations, and what they bring to us. It's even the helpers. They bring an information like a block of information, a dump of information. And that is going to help during the moment you are registering this, regarding to that assistance provided. But may not be during the Penta session. But maybe it does this later to understand, to have a better, a larger view of the assistance process involved. And the self-effort in their own parapsychism, it is very important as well. If we're too focused on the intraphysical environment, so we need to invest in all different types of parapsychism available. In my case, I consider the CEAEC. I've been a volunteer for more than 20 years. The laboratories developers huge resources to help to develop this lucidity connection with the helpers. So they saw the effort that I was putting on to do this, taking on the very same laboratory. So to understand my relationship with the helpers. And the helpers that help on the laboratories, they also connect with us. And this connection will help to connect with the other helpers, doing all the assistance that we provide. It helps a lot. The helpers work during the Penta. As we said at the beginning, so the process of the interaction with the equipax. So we understand that during the laboratories, I saw several Penta helpers. It's not the team that the Penta that's coming. I'm not alone as well. There is a team of helpers that are helping the process. And several people they tell the same thing, the signaling from the helpers, and they had a lucid projection with the Penta helper. extraphysical, this connection with the entire team, it's very important as well. The same way we are here, several Penta practitioners, the helpers do the same thing. And the praticity. And when put a goal of become off access and getting to qualify better our assistance, it's impossible to not have in mind the praticity. It is possible to reach that level of evolutionary level. If the person that is invested in the parapsychism and that it's going to value the process of a self de-intrusion. This process, it is that helps to create even a more connection with the helpers, to help even more complex consciousness. In terms of involving and assisting other consciousness with mega intruders, it's very difficult to work on a situation like this if you don't have a certain level of the praticity.
Eu percebia sempre, né, quando chegava uma consciência que entrava na
When I felt a consciousness that come in my psychosphere, so depending on the work that's need to be done, there was something of combative or something that it was hard for me to handle that situation, to keep focus on the work that needed to be done, especially if I was at work, for example, or in my routine, or my daily routine. I would be an unstable situation. The helper brought a conscience to be assisted, and I didn't understand that. I couldn't feel that. I didn't feel the consciousness in my psychosphere, and my signaling is not very comfortable. And that was not allowing me to work. I couldn't focus. What am I gonna do? Then I started to doing like the vibrational state, unconsciously, or almost unconscious, or almost conscious. And what I'm just trying to do is to remove that intrusion. And I started to mobilize the energy. Oh, but that it is an intruder. And after several times, the helper told me, so the constant will still be with you until your penta section. Your penta session. Oh, now I understand it. So after that, I'm not going to be complaining about it. So when we have a lot of energy and we attract that type of consciousness, and when you're not in your homeostatic stage, you may be bothered by that pattern. And because I allowed that to happen to me, we can't transfer that responsibility. That was like a little embarrassing for me. So next time I'll be more attentive to those type of situations that may happen. That was the very beginning of my Penta. So after that, that became a reference for me. Then I started to pay more attention in situations like that. When I realized that type of pattern that was approaching to my psychosphere, what type of assistance that I should be providing, what is the type of energy that I should be putting out to keep that consciousness in my psychosphere until the moment that I could assist that consciousness. So the consciousness that were brought up to me, and then during the Penta, they would be assisted during the Penta section. So now I understood that my work was going beyond the Penta session was going towards to the 24-hour Penta. So Extraphysical Penta Helper. I really like this entry from Professor Waldo. So then we're going to open up for questions and answers. So choose to work in silence day by day with your Penta, and afterwards the rest will come evolutionary, including the bonuses of cosmological psychic extrapolations. Yeah, Professor Waldo has other orthothosins as well. As you evolve in your work, even the helpers, they have an interest in partner up with you, and that's gonna be they're gonna help you to have even more lucid projections to help us to see who we were in the past, so we can have a better understanding and take advantage of our time in here. This is not only doing this for us, but when we develop our psychism, will help our Penta practice becomes better, and then it enhances the assistance that we provide. That's really the concept of a mini piece in the maximechanism. Yeah, we're not, our work is not directly to the real backs, but we are a mini piece of the real backs process, the urbanization process. Our work help the urbanization process. What we understand with the Penta sessions, so since the event, and I'm going to share with you that every time it's getting closer to the event, we understand there is a higher, a more complex demand from the work that needs to be done. We understand the pattern, it is different. And we connect with the helpers, so we have our energies available. So what happens during this process when we have more people available to that, and the work it has been enhanced as well. We understand there is a higher demand from an energetic perspective from all of us, even during the day. And what I understood, what I saw in the last few years since I moved to here, it's more than 10 years that I live here. Every time that's getting closer to the event, there is like extra physical teams that are here to receive those consciousness that needs to be assisted during the event. It's very, I feel very good about it, and we also see colleagues projected there as well. This is very serious. When we think about the work that we're doing on events like this, when we make ourselves available, it's not to go to a party, but to meet friends, but to contribute and to celebrate everybody's efforts during the entire year. That type of energy, is a very strong energy in terms of sustainability of the work. The 10 Forum, it's a foundation, it's one of the pillars based on this sustainable work that we do. At the end of the year event that we do. So we have all those events at the end of the year to get together, the practitioners, and we can share our experiences. We understand what happens extra physically speaking about all that work that is being done. And during the Penta dynamic, we see that there's several teams of the Xxi Penta that's doing the entire year working with the CEAEC team, and this enhanced the entire assistential work that's being provided. This forum, it is very significant, and it's to close the year strongly as well. We have the forum, we have the complementarian, And then the participity course, it is just to close the year strongly. If we go into the immersive approach, we've added that interaction with the helpers. Even the helpers, they sponsor this type of, or even the extrapolations, so they can to show us, to show our competence, to keep evolving in our work, even to show you that we are in a sub level. And that's why they invest in us as well, in our development. This also help the entire balance between all this. Thinking about Penta, it's we're talking about the group and the group of karma. And all Penta practitioners are contributing significantly to all the larger work that needs to be done during the rollbacks process. It's very important. We should be looking at the work that we do individually every day, what it is missing for me to be able to have a more lucid approach with my Penta helper. For example, have I changed helper during all these years, or it is the very same helper since the beginning? This also shows us that in terms of how I am evolving. If I in the elementary school, but when you go to university, you need a different type of. You have a professor. It shows that you evolved, and the Penta process is the very same thing. If there was a change in the helper, that's very important as well.
Mas isso mostra que faltou então um pouco mais de interação.
It's missing the interaction between the helpers and us. One of the most important things that we can do about this, all these daily experiences we have.
Todos os dias nós abrimos as
Every day
portas
we do this. We open the doors to the helpers to come every day. In our space that we do this, we also open the doors for the interassistance, a more lucid assistance, because we opt to do the internet. This is going to happen until our desoma. If we chose that to be part of that, who is going to be doing this?
Aquilo que nós precisamos nesse
what
momento,
we need to do at the moment to have a more lucid interaction with the helpers. There was a time that I was in a field course, so then we can open up for questions. The helper came and told me that, okay, everything is based on cosmoethics. This needs cosmoethical criticity. I'm still thinking about that interaction. So I started to say this and look at from a bit more careful all the interactions that I was having with consins and consciences in the assistance process that I was part of. Even if it's a small part of it, I try to put the highest efforts that I can put on for that. Sometimes we have a limited, broader view of the process. But as we're evolving, become more mature on this, you get better to understand the process, the assistential process as well. And this more fraternal point of view, it helps doing the rapport with the helpers as well. So we can be more in tune with the helpers through the orthocene process. so we can connect with them better to help the assistants. It always the focus of the assistant. Me, if I'm evolving, if I put more effort, I'm becoming better in the assistance that I provide. This should be enough. So it should be enough for us to invest more in our parapsychism. It's always the focus on the and the results that we want to be and contributing to the entire group results as well, not our individual result, but the group as well. It's the sum of the individual efforts as well. When we think bigger, we see understand that like we see understand more the mini piece approach. Okay? Anybody want to go and ask questions?
Anybody would like to make any questions?
Obrigado aí pela
Gisele, thank you for your explanation. I got interested about the theme of the 24 hours Penta, advanced Penta and OFX. This is something that always shows up. But my question is the following. In your identification process, you got the conclusion from your investigation of the signals. So I imagine that's not an isolated process. So it's how you understand it, because it seems that it keeps growing up until it to reach to this level. So I've been several years doing the Penta, and then that's the thing that I understood more recently. And then that's the moment that I position myself to the specificity. It was a call of attention that a Penta helper did during one field. And then one helper came, very familiar helper, came here, and this helper from the Penta on this specific field came, and then I got surprised, but he came with that nice energy. He asked, how is your positioning about that? And then that moment I started to have a panoramic view of all my life. And then I knew that I had a level of self-desperticity. But I would say, no, the desperticity is not for me right now. And then that moment that helper came and said that to me, well, I said, I'm ready. I did this movement towards this desperticity. And then it was a milestone, an important milestone for me to get the responsibility, to put the responsibility to myself. And then I start to invest more on my self-parapsychology, about my clairaudience, my signals, and I had more discipline on mapping my signaling. That's signage. That it was important to understand the assistance demands that I was all the time receiving, until I got to a moment that I start to perceive that from time to time there was a very ill consciousness, consciex that was coming. And then I start to realize that that was a leader. And then that started to have mega intruder that was coming to the assistance. And then as these demands from big groups starts to come, okay, then it starts to get these opportunities. And then there is this parapsychic data that we have that the Professor Valdo used to say. And then I start to realize that I started to have a capability to withstand in my psychosphere that level of sickness. And how I start to ask myself how much competence I had to deal with that level of demand. And some punctual opportunities, needs, and then would bring there, and sometimes some help that was assistant that was more demanding. So when I've been working with the support for the volunteers for more than 10 years, and these also help me to understand how to deal with consciousness that are sick in that moment. So since I was very young, I would think about, I need to do assistance. And then that's the moment that you start to realize that any person that dedicates to Penta, well, it doesn't come from nothing. That person, it's already working with assistance before, but then Penta, it's the moment that becomes more technical. And then we need to evaluate what are the demands and what are the needs. And then also you need to understand and having this rigor so you can sustain the works that are happening. So it's not only the interaction, the Penta, but also the interaction with the helper. So I am a lucid projector. And then since the beginning, the helper, when I start Penta, the helper came, gave my name, and then said, we are starting the works together now. And then for me, it was very important to understand that. It was extremely important for me. And this condition with the helpers, it's important. And when they changed the helper, I was surprised that, okay, I didn't know. Okay, who was this consciências, okay? And then who it is? It's a female, male, and how it happened. So that's why I said the importance of the labs, okay? So I did the physical immobility lab, okay? So it was important for me. I purchased several time slots in the labs until I did that, and then I had the projection, and then we introduced ourselves, and then besides that helper, there was other helpers that was also acting during the Penta. And then there were more like 3 consexes that I was introduced. I felt their energies, the manifestations, and then what the kind of tasks that they would come in. It depends a lot of your efforts. So in the period, for example, that we are not like taking notes and you let it go, okay? So the helpers are going to insist with someone that is like not giving the proper value of the parapsychics, that's not taking notes. That is an ortopensata from Dr. Valdo. For you to receive in your psychosphere one consex who is mega intruder, you need to welcome just like you welcome a loved son. That's it. You understand how deep it is? But to do it, you need to have like a relationship like mother and daughter or son, okay? The mother, it's always that committed, no matter how much work that kid gives. So, and then you need, as you understand better how your conditions, about your allosomatic conditions, you're going to be able to deal better with this more challenging consex, with this challenging assistance. Because not all the assistance that we are going to do will be easy. Okay, sometimes we are going to have during the intrusion that we are going to do. Sometimes you'll be very, very hard because you're bringing out that conscience out from that intrusion standard pattern. So sometimes I look to something and say, no, that's not for me. Maybe I need to call the group to work together. Because I'm going to, because you also need to understand your limits, the limits of the assistant, not only from the assistant, but also the assistant. It's important. Is it good? Anybody else? I would like to understand more about the process of signal development connected to the Penta in a practical way. How do you define your signage and hypothesis? Because there are several signage that we have some level of uncertainty. So do you have any parameter like a number of repetitions or the experience itself that's more expressive? You had a lot of revision, I thought that was this, but it was that. Then you start to rethink your conclusions. How do you draw this hypothesis in a technical way? And self-scientific, one practice that helps me a lot is to take notes, write. So when it repeats several times, I got some of them, not that I thought that was something, due to the pattern of the energy that I felt, but then I understand that it was a different perspective, some kind very subtle that goes in a different direction. So we have here like a signature here that it's a functional helper. And then I perceived that for a long time. And to understand what it is. Then I felt something different from that, almost in the same place. And then I thought that was the functional helper from my revision work, for example. I recognize it and so on. And then he started to explain to me some topics, because I was very in a level of discoincidence. And then explain about the work about for Adriana Kawati and Jacqueline about the theorists. But who is this consciousness? This is not the helper that I'm used to. Then he came to me and said, I am the numerator. A numerator? I never had interact directly with the numerator. But the signage, it's very similar to the signage that I have. And then I perceived that the helper that it was working with me in that field came and said, yeah, that's him. So why you are here? I did not understand properly in that moment. So I will only show you what does it mean about the conscienciological theories. Because we were working for the first book of Deliana Manfroy. And then I could share with her, and then she also experienced his presence in that context that we are living in that moment. And then he made it very clear about what is the conscienciological theories. And then he showed me through traveling clairvoyage, I saw several moments in history when different groups interact in a positive way and others in a negative one. And then the moment we are very friends, very close friends together, the other completely not. And he showed me that everything. So do you know what means that? And then that we are all of us here now? It means that group of karmic recomposition. So this theories recomposition means group karmic recomposition, because this group will be all of them connected through the mental somas in this publishing of this GESCOM. So you are before encyclopedia, and now you are in the collection of books. And then this bring me the perception that the signage, it has a repetition, sometimes 1 year, 2 years with the same kind of signals, until I really understand what does it mean. And then it comes a different one, very, very similar, but the subtle, it requires a refinement to decode, because the next time that conscin will interact with me, you know how to identify, because there was a different way to perceive that. But if I did not record it, register it, would I know that? No, because it's very, very easy to lose it. And several times I had the experience that I did not take notes, and then later I forgot. And then I start to ask myself what I was thinking, what I was doing. And then I start to verify how much I would waste about all that information that I was receiving. So if the signals mapping, okay, I'm getting that, but it's not possible if I'm not registering it. It's important to write. And then I got to some conclusions that are like conjugated signals that appears in some assistance conditions. Then I perceive some signal, then another one, like 4 in sequence. When I feel like 4, and then I understand each one of them, I can do the reading of that information. But if I not like took notes, okay, on computer and so on, okay, to get to the level that I can manage to decode the information, then you'll be more challenging. Then I start to see some of the signals in several different conditions. They are different and represent a particular information. I still have lots to study on that subject, because I see that's a way to understand better what's happening, and then connect better with the helpers. But I think that this needs to be done in a systematic way. What are your sanity? What you're thinking? Because otherwise you cannot decode what was happening. So if you don't do that, if you don't register, if you don't decode, you're going to have erroneous, mistaken conclusion. So that's the record, the repetitions, it helps me a lot. But why? Why? It's not exactly the way that it was. What's the difference? Why the result was not the same? So this makes me to recheck, reanalyze, to understand the question. Is that okay? So I would like to thank you, the opportunity to be here. Congratulations to everyone that's here, that we are sustaining this assistential work, and I wish an excellent forum to everyone.
A gente agradece muito a professora
thank you,
Gisele
Instructor Gisele, for this opening, this presentation. We had several energetic repercussions, and we thank you a lot And I also want to thank everyone who attended the opening lecture of the forum. And then we reinforce anybody that wants to register to the event. We are still open for registration. And we are starting with the forum tomorrow morning. And then see you all tomorrow. Good evening.